This is not a pitcher. Sure looks like a pitcher. It has a spout. It has a handle. And if you really wanted to, you could put water into it and pour it back out again. Although I'm not entirely sure it's glazed inside, and that probably wouldn't be a very good idea. But if it looks like a pitcher, but isn't a pitcher, what is it? And what good is it? I would say that this is a ceramic sculpture that plays with the idea of a pitcher. And I say plays with because I'm going to get back to that idea before this video is over. The Bauhaus movement, which started in Germany several decades before this picture was made, talked about the idea of form follows function. And it's a very sensible idea, although as with most ideas, it has to be properly understood and properly applied to make it work. But what if we change that a little bit and say that the form is the function? What if we consider aesthetics a function? And that can start to change how we look at this non-pitcher, at art, at ourselves. Well, once you start to think, it changes a lot of things. If I wanted to, I could put flowers into this jug-shaped sculpture. But even if the flowers weren't artificial and rather scruffy looking, I think I would still be looking a lot at the holder, not so much the flowers. It's not simply that the flowers don't add to the holder, the vase, the jug, but that it distracts from the flowers. There is something more about this than only its utilitarian function, which is probably what makes it art. So let's get rid of the flowers and take a look at the jug. It is not pretty. And anyone who told you that art has to be pretty hasn't been paying attention. Whether it's painting, poetry, or pottery, art may delight the eye or the ear. It may provoke, and it may disturb. Probably the only thing that art shouldn't do is have no effect on you at all. And even kitsch can bring about a chuckle or a grin. It does have effect, although I won't say it's always art. But when I spend more time not just looking at this piece, but seeing it, and I start to notice the lines, the proportions, notice the color variations in the glaze, the variations in gloss and in texture, how the glaze relates to the shape, how the angled line gives, it keeps it from being chunky. It's strong, but it's not clunky, chunky. It gives me a rather stable feeling. And stability is something I can frequently use more of. And It's a rather brooding piece, perhaps brutalist. Does it, as they currently say, bring me joy? Well, not the sudden bubbly joy that we may most often think about, but yes, it does bring me joy. It brings me a slow growing and long-lasting joy. Something that lasts longer than a bite of cotton candy. Now, since we're talking about handles and why they have handles, if this handle isn't here, we would just call this a vase. And we wouldn't even ask whether or not it really is a vase, because it looks like a vase and it acts like a vase. But we add a handle, and if you look at any of these, well, on these we would call the handle necessary in order to make it look like a pitcher. But many West German pottery items have a single handle, even when the shape looks like a vase, and that really bothers some people. Largely because it's not what they expect. It's not what they think a vase is supposed to be, or in this case, not what they think a jug or pitcher is supposed to be, because those are supposed to be useful. And in part, I think that's why the handles are there. Many of the West German designers were very aware of the effects of what they were doing. And they liked to play around with the rules. They like to point out to us that they aren't rules. There is nothing in physics that says a vase cannot have a single handle. And, well, we call it a decanter, but in many respects a decanter is simply a pitcher without a spout or a handle. Wait a minute. We get so tangled up in the rules of function, the rules of shape. Well, we get tangled up in rules. Some people really want things to be absolute. And West German pottery often tells us, whether we like it or not, things are not absolute. And there's often a sense of whimsy involved. And some of that goes back to the Russia 313. Now this is the later version. You can see this a little more clearly in the original shape. But even beyond just having a handle that doesn't really serve its usual function, this handle is a little exaggerated, much like the angular handle on the ES pitcher or the slightly bizarre shape on the Daimler and Bryden. It's a sense of whimsy. It's fun. It's playful. And one of the things that art can do is slip past our conscious mind, past our expectations, and reach the inner child that we all too often say should grow up with the rest of us. But that inner child is sitting in there playing around and experimenting. They, like most children, they don't, work so much with the rules. They play and they learn. And that is, again, maybe something slightly scary about art, is that it gets into us. When something is utilitarian, we use it. But art affects us more than we affect it. And we can't always control that effect, either in the short term or the long term. Art can make us feel, and it can make us think. And sometimes there is not much that's more frightening than thinking, because it can take us places we didn't expect, which can be either adventure or nightmare. And it can make us consider things that we may have tried to avoid. And that's one reason we need art. The flip side of that is that aesthetics can actually be soothing. A well-shaped ceramic sculpture can lower your blood pressure. You walk in and you see it and you smile and you feel better. And then perhaps you look at the next item and you may not be smiling after that. But we need to feel, we need to think. We need art. So, when you're out there looking for your next ceramic sculpture, consider its effect. Now, I'm not saying all West German pottery is art. Some of it doesn't even rise to the level of kitsch. Some West German pottery vases are meant to hold flowers and not really much more purpose. Yes, we may put them on the shelf and call them decorative objects, but they don't necessarily make us feel or think. And we need decorative objects. We can't spend every moment, caught up in the power of art. But we do need to take that risk at least some of the time. And just hope that we don't hear the Twilight Zone playing in the background. Have fun and enjoy. So long.